So I was just thinking, like, I feel like I need an intro for the podcast. Like, I don't know. Well, okay, I was thinking a couple things. Number one, I was thinking, I don't know, I want to introduce, like, not introduce myself, but like start out, like, say hi and start out the episode with more unique entries. You know what I mean? I want to be a little like weirder and more fun and more original with them. Sup was not very original, but I don't know. I'm just trying to branch out. I'm trying to stretch myself. I'm trying to get creative, and I don't always want to just be like, hello, my loves, welcome back to the podcast. Even though that's cute and it's me and I love it. Like, I don't know. I just want to, I want to get weird and have more fun. So anyway, that was my first attempt at being creative with my greeting. That's the word I was looking for, greeting. Also, though, I was thinking, like, I feel like it would be fun to have some kind of, hosts like certain shows and podcasts and things like have a little, almost like a little tagline. So it would be the kind of like, welcome back to Messy and Iconic, where blah, 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 something like that. But like, I don't know what, like nothing has dropped in, but I feel like it's fun to have a little bit of that, like we had the theme song, but I don't know. It's fun to have a little bit of that like structure, that like added flavor flav. I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts. So that's where I'm at. I'm wondering when this is gonna go away, but like when I sit down to start the episode, I literally just like stare in silence and my like throat, like not my throat doesn't close, but like I can't like speak. Like I am like, what do I say? How do I start this? And I think that's just because like again, I've been off podcasting for a while and it's just a thing that happens. And you just gotta like break the ice. So I feel like having like little icebreakers, that would be fun. I wondered if we like start with like if I started with like actual corny little icebreakers at the beginning of the episode, that would be fun. I also came up with a really fun idea that I'm gonna end each episode with a card pull. So I thought that would just be like a fun way to cap off the episodes. And I feel like probably what's gonna happen is the card will like often end up being very aligned to whatever we end up talking about and like the themes of the episode. But it's also just like a fun for you, like who doesn't love a good card pull. So I thought that'd be like a fun way to kind of like start, like cap the episode with, well, I just came up with the intro thing, but like having like ways to kind of like, have a little bit of fun structure in the episode since the actual episode itself is not structured at all. Not that we need it, but I don't know. Like I feel like it's fun to have those little. It's funny because my mom, like when I was in season one, she would always tell me like you should have like some segments or like some things that people can look forward to every week. Like like I don't know. This one podcast she listens to has like I don't even know what the segments are, but like a something cool or a whatever. Like my favorite thing this week, I can't think of the example she gave me, but and like I love that idea in theory, but I don't know. I haven't thought of anything that I feel like I would like love enough to include that consistently. So anyway, also I feel like I'm too scatterbrained that I would like forget to include it half the time. So anyway, I thought that was a fun idea. We'll see if I like remember and stick to it. Also, I am I forgot what I was going to say. I'm using my Thriving mug as a little homage to Thriving. We still want it, like, the spirit of Thriving is still here. It's just messier. Anyway, welcome back to the podcast. I'm like, wait, I didn't even like say things I normally say because I totally like went sideways with my intro, with my greeting. It's like an improv exercise, like when I used to teach freestyle dance classes, one of the prompts I would give them a lot of the time was to start in a different position because like I would teach them with Paul. I'm putting this down because I'm not dry. I like to like have it in my hand when that's my mug, by the way, if you're listening and not watching video. I like to have it in my hand when I start because it like looks cozy, but then I'm like, okay, I'm not drinking this. It's heavy. This is actually a really heavy mug. Anyway, my leg is also itchy for some reason. Guys, what is happening? Also, my leg is like really all of a sudden really itchy. I was so dead set on wearing a hoodie for this episode. Like I wanted that vibe of like, oh, I'm all cute. I got my jewelry and like my messy bun and my makeup done, but like I'm in a hoodie. Like I love that vibe and I wanted it. And because today is a bestie chat life update episode and the first bestie chat episode I ever did, I was wearing one of Sindri's hoodies and I was like, oh, it'd be like fun and cute to like wear one of Sindri's hoodies again. And I just love wearing his hoodies and his clothes in general. But then I got so freaking hot, like literally so hot. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Well, okay, these lights make it so hot immediately. But also, I don't know, I felt like I was more hot than usual. Also, I know that I get hot when I start recording. So I was like, if I'm already this hot, I cannot keep wearing this. Like, I really tried to fight it. I turned the heat down. I took my socks off. I changed into shorts. I opened the window. I tried to do everything I could, but it was not happening. I think also because I'm supposed to get my period like any day. I don't know. I feel like, do you get like hot flashes when you're like at that part of your cycle? Because I definitely feel like I do. And I think that's what's happening. So, anyway, just like physically going through a lot right now. A lot of sensations. But what I was saying was, what was I saying anyway? Oh, when I used to teach freestyle dance classes, because they were pole classes, everyone would always start just like facing the pole, you know? And that immediately kind of limits you. You don't even realize because, you're already in that kind of box, like you can only do so many things. There are a lot of things you can do from that position, but there's only so many. And it also, because you're always starting in that position, it just enforces those like, the muscle memory kind of and the neural pathways in your brain to like go into the same motion, right? Like if you're always starting at the pole and then you usually start with a body roll, like you're probably just going to start with a body roll again. And it gets harder to break out into that like creative headspace, right? In that creative flow because you're doing the same things you always do, right? And so I would always tell them, start with your back to the pole, start on the floor instead of standing, start facing the other way or something because it just immediately opens up a whole other world of moves of creative exploration that like you weren't even seeing before, So, and I feel like that kind of like creative exercise can be used in so many ways, like for just like imagination, opening up to possibility, for creativity, for everything. And it is just like the more novelty, this is something I've been coming back to so much recently. The more novelty you have in your life, the better, honestly. Like, and not that like we don't love to have our cozy routines and things like that, but definitely need a balance, I guess I should say. Like, it's not like that you want like all new all the time. We definitely need a balance, always a balance. But I feel like we tend to skew the other way towards more familiar, obviously, and just like bringing more novelty, more exploration, more adventure, more spontaneity. Like that's where you get play, that's where you get creativity. That's like a realm of such magic and excitement and joy and fun. So, if you needed that reminder, bring a little more novelty. Even again, it can be small, like the pole examples, like literally just facing a different direction, right? Like even me just like starting with a new greeting, right? Like now has sent me on this whole tangent of like this line of thought that we wouldn't have talked about before, right? And like maybe and it gave me the idea to like start with a little icebreaker. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's fun to play those games. Yeah, little improv. It's funny. I went to an improv show once my sister was in and I had this like epiphany that like you would totally hear someone just like on drugs saying, probably like someone who's like just high on shrooms or something. Because I was just like, wait, life is improv. But actually, it's like not that deep, but it actually is. Like if you think about it, we are improving life 100 like all the time. I know it. Like it literally sounds like I'm high. That's like such the exactly thing that like someone high would say, but like I am high on life. No. You know what I mean? Like it's just like isn't it funny how like people improv like in theater as like an activity, but it's like wait, but you can do that all the time. But like we are doing that all the time. You know what I mean? Like why do we look at that differently? I have to think about that more. I feel like because maybe it is because we're not putting ourselves in new situations often enough. So like we aren't improving because we're keeping ourselves in familiar situations. Interesting. Anyway, I have a lot to talk about today. I'm literally still so hot. Okay, today is a bestie chat, like I said, and I need to like fan myself for a second. I'm literally in a t-shirt. I still put on Sindri's t-shirt though. So like we still have Sindri's clothes, but it's a t-shirt, but I'm still so hot. Like what is happening? I got distracted before I started recording this watching Dancing with the Stars videos. I don't like watch the actual show. I am literally sweating, you guys. Like am I okay? I am like so hot. I need a fan. Meanwhile, we're having a snowstorm this weekend. Sindri and I are going to put up the Christmas decorations. We were going to do it last weekend, but we were too busy. And also it worked out perfectly because we wanted to put them up like a couple weekends ago when it was snowing because it got us in the Christmassy mood. Then it stopped snowing and it got kind of warm again. And we were like, oh, we're not really in the Christmassy mood now. And now it's supposed to snow this weekend, which is when we're gonna do it. And so like it's just another small example of like how the timing just always works out. Like last weekend we were like, oh, we're supposed to do Christmas, but like it got too busy. But we were like, whatever, must not be meant to put them up until next weekend. And it's just so nice living life that way. I'm sorry, I'm getting really distracted because of how hot I am. Like, I'm sorry, this is such a chaotic start to the episode. I'm planning on getting deep, okay? Deep breath. You guys are like, John Marie, are you okay over there? I promise I'm fine. Anyway, I didn't like watch the show because I asked Sindri like to get it on his like thing where we watch shows, and he got like the first episode, but then I just like I don't know. I ended up just watching the dances of the people that I knew and was interested in on Instagram and just following that way because I really just want to see the dances. I mean, I would like to see the judges and stuff. I've actually watched the show before. I've just always been interested in watching it and wanted to watch it because I love dancing, and I've always been obsessed. Like I had seen some of the like contemporary dances just on YouTube, and I would like cry and get chills, and I'd be like, I am obsessed. I need to be able to do this, and also I want to watch this show so bad. So anyway, but it's interesting because I don't know if it's just because I like decided to pay a little bit more attention to it this year or if it was like a bigger season, but I felt like I was seeing so many people talk about it on Instagram and I've never really noticed people talking about it before. So it's just interesting like how like suddenly start paying attention to something and then like all of a sudden you're seeing it all the time. Well, it's not interesting. It's like manifestation and like neuroscience 101 reticular activating system, but it's still funny when you experience it. It's just a good reminder. Anyway, though, I was watching Dylan and Danny's freestyle and I literally had chills. I was obsessed. It was so good. Like when they went in the water and when she jumped from the stairs. Oh my God, it was so good. Also, then I was watching, so I like knew Dylan the best from Traders because I knew Carolyn from Traders, who was also on Survivor. I knew her, and so we wanted to watch Traders for her, and then I discovered Dylan through watching that season of Traders. We don't watch a ton of reality TV. It's really just Survivor, which is not, it's different than other reality TV, but Traders was kind of fun. It was because it's like a little Survivor and then a little of like other reality TV. So it was kind of fun to watch, and I was kind of like, okay, I see the appeal of why people like to watch like the other reality TV shows, but like we tried to watch Big Brother once because I was supposed to be in like long story short, like you know how I used to play the online Survivor games and I played a few in-person ones and then I was like on crew for a couple of them and I was supposed to be on crew for a Big Brother one and I was like, I don't really know Big Brother, it's not Survivor, but I knew the people. And so I tried to watch a season of Big Brother to like understand what was going on and I was like so bored. I was just like, it was so annoying. Like the people were so annoying and dumb. I don't know. And I was just like, I feel like I'm like snobby about my reality TV. Like I'm like, what's the word? Like I have like reality TV standards. Like I'm like Survivor approved and like Traders is okay because it's like half and half. But then like the ones that are just like the full drama, like I can't do it. Like I get annoyed with it. Like I get the entertainment, but I get annoyed with it. Anyway, I don't even know what I was saying, but basically, I was saying I really was mainly following Dylan because I knew him from Traders, but then I was like seeing clips of Robert Irwin because, spoiler alert, he won. I'm like, I just had a moment of panic. I'm like, wait a minute. Should I like have given more of a spoiler alert? Should I cut that out? I think it's fine. This isn't coming out till Monday anyway. Have been like almost a week since then. Anyway, I was just seeing more clips of him. I was watching his dances and he is like such a cutie. Like he just looks so wholesome and like the dances just brought me so much joy. Like I was just smiling watching. They just looked like they were having so much fun. And is it just me? Like I feel like just Australians in general, like every time I see an Australian person talking, I just feel like, I don't know if it's just the accent. And I mean, anytime anyone with an accent and not American accent talks, I'm like, why do you sound so fun and cool? Can I please? Literally, I want to learn how to have I wish I was Australian. Like, I like if an Australian heard me say this, would they be like, you're so weird? I don't know. If an Australian said they wish they were American because we're so cool and like we have cool accents and we're funny, I don't think I'd be offended at all. I would be like, really? You think that about us? Because I think that about you. Yeah, but is it just me? Like, I feel like, I don't know, like the Australians just have like such a unique sense of humor. They're just like fun and like Their accents are just so cool. Like, why can't I have a cool accent like that? Anyway, okay, I feel like I'm. Oh, I was gonna say one other thing. Oh, no. I feel like because I'm so hot, I'm like really in my head right now because I'm not like in my body, because like my body feels uncomfortable, which is so interesting. And like, because I feel that I'm like not flowing as well. I'm like, I don't know. I feel just like very in my head. Like I'm not like in the zone. And I think it's because I'm so hot. And so I'm like not in my body because, yeah, I'm like, there's like discomfort in my body that it's like I don't know, my awareness is trying to avoid. So it's like staying in my head, but it's making it hard to like talk and stay focused. Like it's like this is like messy, but in a chaotic way, not in like a flowy way. This is like genuinely messy. I'm like, I don't know how to cool down though. Like, I don't want to turn the lights. I might have to turn the lights off. What if I try just opening the window more? I'm gonna try that real quick. Okay, that went really well because I completely knocked the curtain rod off of the window, and now the curtains and the rod are on the floor. You guys, we are a mess today. We are an absolute mess, an iconic mess, but we are a mess. Let me take a drink. I was gonna say maybe taking a sip of the hot drink is not a good idea right now, but it's actually cooled off quite a bit. It's like not even hot anymore, which is interesting since it's a drink that's meant to be hot. It's just so weird. I feel like so out of it, and I was really excited to record this episode too. And I have like a lot of stories to get into. And I feel like this is so chaotic. Like there's a part of me, not gonna lie, I just had a part of me that was like, you should just start over. And I was like, no. Because this is all about being real, raw, and messy and authentic. And I have to show it all to you. I have to be real. I have to put it all out there and not be perfectionist. And this is fun. The mess is fun. It's just like that I feel not present. I don't know how to explain it. Like I feel very like forgetful and distracted right now. Like I keep losing my train of thought, which like when at a certain point that becomes like not fun to listen to, I feel like, because like I feel like I can't even follow. So anyway, are we really 20 minutes in? We better not be. Okay, because I don't want this episode to be too long. Anyway, all that to say, I love Dancing with the Stars and I want to be on it so bad. It is like genuinely one of my like big dreams, like one of my big goals, like less than just like, oh, like make this much money or whatever. Like one like dream of mine truly that I would like love to do is be on Dancing with the Stars as a celebrity, obviously as a star, because I'm not a professional dancer. But I would love it. And like I will be like that. Like we're setting it here. Like we are putting it out into the universe now. Like we are setting it. Like listen back to this episode when it manifests. I will be on Dancing with the Stars. And I can't wait for that dream to come true. Maybe I should start actually watching the show to help manifest that. But like I want to be on that show so bad because I just love dancing and I would love an opportunity like that to really get to like learn how to dance and dance with professionals in that way. Since I don't have that experience, but like I wish I had it. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's that on that. Let's get into the actual Bestie Chat episode. Oh, one more thing, one little update on the podcast is I was like all excited to YouTube you guys, and I don't know if that's gonna happen. I think I like got in a little over my head. Not got in a little over my head, but just like, I got excited. Like my eyes were bigger than my stomach or whatever the phrase is. Because like it just the video just has become much more complicated than I thought it would be. Like I still like having the good quality video for like the trailers on Instagram, but to upload the video to YouTube, I didn't realize how much I would have to deal with because I'm taking the video on my phone, but I'm recording the episode on the mic, and I have video recording on my laptop, but it's not as good quality as the phone, and it's like from a different angle and like whatever. Did my candle go out? My candle went out. I went through so much to make sure that the candle. Oh, it didn't go out. It's just you can't really see. Maybe if I turn it, oh, that's better. Because I went through so much to make sure the candle. Oh, I'm away from the mic. I went through so much to make sure the candle was in the frame because I love the vibe. And it kept being like just out of frame. I'm getting my period any day, guys. Bear with me. You guys know that like this time of your cycle is not meant to be the most outward yang energy. So we're just gonna blame it on that too for why I'm so off right now. So YouTube, I was like, I'll just upload the phone video as the episode to YouTube, you know? But then the audio on the phone was like so bad. I didn't realize it would be that bad. There was like all this background noise for some reason. And yeah, I didn't realize how bad it would be. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can upload this to YouTube. So then I tried to like sync the audio from the mic with that video and like that got complicated and didn't really work. And then I was like, I could just upload like this video that's on the laptop. It's kind of got like me at an angle and it's not as good. And then I was like, but I don't know, what's the point at that point? Like that wasn't really, I don't know. So maybe I'm just gonna focus right now on just like making good trailers on Instagram and like YouTube will be a future thing. Just being real. I don't know if that's gonna happen. So, and I don't know if I care enough, you know what I mean, to make it happen was the thing. Was I was like, is this really a priority based on like how difficult it's becoming? I'm not sure. Priority number one is like just being consistent with getting the podcast out and promoting it more consistently. Because that was a problem I had in season one was I didn't have time or I didn't make time to like promote it consistently and I wasn't always having trailers and that was a whole thing. So that's like my main focus right now. And if the YouTube's going to take away from that, then like that's not a priority right now. So anyway, those are all the little updates on that. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. The bestie chat. The other thing is I was like, okay, this is like a bestie chat life update episode, but I feel like also every episode's going to kind of be like a bestie chat. So I'm like, is it like different to call it a bestie chat? But I feel like it is because I feel like sometimes, I might have a guest or I might have like more of a specific topic I want to riff on or something. Like this is going to be like a classic bestie chat life update on like what's been going on like over the past 3-4 months with me like updating you on just like the lessons I've been through, the cycles, like what I've been navigating in life with my business, all the shifts, like all the updates since Sindri's been here, what's changed, and like we're gonna go deep because yeah, I got some stuff to share. So thank you for sticking with me for these 20 minutes of absolute chaos. I promise the journey was worth it. It's also so crazy too because I literally feel like I have just been on a quantum rocket ship the past couple months. And especially like the past few weeks, like this month, I feel like things are changing and evolving so quickly, like week to week, that it's like I almost can't even keep up. It's like the bestie chat update I would have recorded last week is so different from like everything I have to share this week and is so different from what I would have recorded the week before that and so different from what I did record the week before that I didn't record. And everything is just like yeah, I'm like, oh my God, like, do I even, like, some of the updates feel so far away now, but they're still relevant to the story. So I think what I want to do is we're going to take it back to basically when Sindri got here, because I feel like that's when everything really started changing and happening. I also, like, wrote a few, like, very rough notes down here just so I don't forget anything. So let me just glance at these real quick. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to forget. Yeah, okay. I'm going to take another breath before we start, so hopefully we can kind of drop in a little bit more. I'm feeling a little more cooled down now. So, yeah, I feel like that's when everything started really changing. And I really feel like, too, that like Sindri moving was the completion of a level for me. You kind of look back on your life and you see these phases, and especially once you become aware of how life works and how like quantum leaps and manifestation and up levels and timeline shifts and all of that work and like the lesson integrations and all of that, then you can even start to see it like even more clearly. And you really start to see life as a video game in a way, right? Like you really are just like leveling up every time and like you start the level and everything's new and you have no idea what the fuck is going on. And then you start to learn your way and then you eventually get to the final boss and then you beat the final boss, and then you pass and then you up level. Like, and that's really how it kind of works. And it's funny, I was talking to one of my friends recently, semi-recently, and she was saying how when we were talking about finances and money, and I was talking about like getting familiar with your finances and like checking in with your money and setting budgets and things like that. And she was saying that she gets freaked out when she starts to pay too close attention to her finances, or like being like, okay, I have this much to spend this month, and I'll put this much towards groceries and this much towards this, because she starts to feel like she's in a video game and life isn't real and it freaks her out. And I was like, low key, yeah, same, like true. But I actually find it weirdly like comforting to look at life that way. Like I find it fun. I don't know. I'm curious how you guys feel about that. But anyway, so, and I feel like I had, kind of my whole first, spiritual awakening, and that whole journey of coming back to myself, reawakening my intuition, and everything I talked about in the very first episode of the podcast, right? Like leaving my job, breaking up with that 6-year relationship, like all of that whole lifetime ago, And I had that whole thing. And then, I think kind of my like, my when finishing that level, like my graduation from that level, if you will, was when I met Sindri and decided to start my business. Like that was, well, I guess I should say like the final boss of that level, like when I kind of like completed that level, was when I finally like left my job for good and left that toxic relationship. And then my kind of like, I feel like what I've realized is kind of like, and this is all new, it's not, I'm not saying that life is like robotic and mathematic like this, but it's interesting to look at this way, because what I realize is like I beat those kind of final bosses, right, if you will. And then I kind of got my like little period of bliss and like my reward of like meeting Sindri, getting with Sindri, and then getting this clarity about starting my business and having all this new excitement. And everything suddenly felt so clear and so aligned and so good. And that was like, you know, I don't know what to call that. Almost like the integration between levels, or like the bliss period between levels. It's like final boss and then like the celebration and all these good things come in. And then I started the next level, right? Which was like starting my business and that journey, right? That was like a whole new initiation. And like the long distance relationship was another whole new initiation. And so then I went on that journey. And of course, again, this happens in like many, like all through, right? The journey, this happens over and over in little ways. But I feel like I can really look back and see these like big fate, like these big chapters, you know what I mean, of my life. And so I feel like that chapter of like that, theme of that, not theme of lessons, but that kind of like group of lessons and those certain themes, and like that initiation was like, all the first lessons that I got with starting my business, and kind of getting to this point now where like my confidence in my relationship with entrepreneurship and self-expression and sales, like, and all of that, like I built that foundation of my business, to where I learned all the basics, I embodied all the basics. I'm at this place now where I feel really solid in what I've built, and I know how to build it and keep building it and keep growing it. And it was kind of like a building phase, and now I'm in more of like an expansion phase. And that was kind of this like building the foundations. And now like I feel like this next chapter is going to be more expansion focused. But it was a lot of like that, first round of lessons, and like healing my relationship with money, and like getting back into my body, like a lot of what I now teach. And obviously I got them over and over again over the past couple of years. But just looking back, I can see like, because I even had felt like too, like my business, I was kind of coming to like not like a plateau in my business, but I felt like I had built it to a certain point, and I could just feel like, almost like I could feel that like I couldn't like grow any further until Sindri was here. Like I could feel that they were connected. And it's interesting because I got an intuitive reading too. I actually won it for free from Christina the channel. I love her. If you don't know her, definitely go follow her. And I remember she said in there like that my career and my love life are super, super connected. And she was like, everyone's is connected. Obviously, everything is connected. But for you, they're really, really connected. And it's really important for you to know that, which is interesting because I could feel they were connected. And I could feel like I've kind of built like the business to this point, and like this kind of other piece kind of needs to click in of him moving and being here before like I can enter into the next. And then he moved, and I feel like it was the same thing where it was like finally all of that challenging journey, of like being apart for so long and waiting for him to be here and everything that we went through for that like ended. And it was like this again, like huge reward, like bliss phase. So like when he moved in August, I felt like it was just this bliss phase, like for like 3 months of just, I literally cannot believe this is my life. I am like so fucking grateful. Like, how is this real? And like it was so helpful in so many ways. Like first of all, just not having to be apart anymore, like being with him every day. It's literally still unreal. Like every day I'm like, how is this real? Like I don't know when it will feel real, and honestly, like I don't even want it to start to feel real because I love feeling just like this overwhelming gratitude every day for like literally how is this real, and I'm really trying to not let myself lose that. Like we're saying all the time like, oh my God, like remember when we would like just get to like squeeze a phone call in for half an hour a night, or like when we could only do this virtually, or like when we still had a 5 hour time difference, like just like it's such a gratitude hack, honestly, to help just like be in gratitude all the time. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I literally get to just like hug and kiss you every day, and we get to like just do stuff and like just go out on a date and just hang out, like see each other every day, no matter how busy we are. It's just like incredible. It is literally incredible. But when he first moved, especially, it was just like such literally bliss. And it also like brought a huge shift to my financial situation. It brought a lot more financial stability, which also it wasn't just him moving. Like I mean, ever since I started my business, have been doing so much work on my relationship with money and with my finances, and have had so many huge breakthroughs. I have to do a whole episode on just that because there's so much I could say on that. But it kind of like all timed out to where I had done so much to shift my relationship with finances. And I came to a point where I realized, kind of speaking to like, again, like the shift from like being in the building phase to being in a different phase in my business. When I was in the building phase in my business, I that was my number one priority, literally over anything else. It was like, I need to get this business off the ground. I need to like get it rolling. I need to like start, like, I need to build this to something. I need to build this foundation, like I need to learn what I'm doing. I need to like commit to this 1000%. And it was my number one goal, my number one priority over anything else. And this is something I wanted to make a post about this, and I still will when I get to it. But when you first start out too, you see a lot about investing that's kind of like, you see all the guilt tripping and like you could always make it work if you want to and this and this. And I do think that's true. Like, I think it's true that you can always make it work if you want to. And I think that like when people make excuses about money, quote unquote, they are excuses, but it's not always an excuse just because they're like not ready for change. Excuse me, what it means, what I always tell my clients when people say that is like, that just means that this is not their number one priority right now, right? It could not be their number one priority because like they're afraid and their priority is actually just like feeling safe, right? And like it's too stretchy for them, and they want to stay in the familiar for longer and they're not ready. Like it can be because they're not ready when they say no, but it can also be like it's actually just not a priority for them to invest in their business right now. It's not their top priority, I should say. It can be a priority, but if it is not your number one priority, then maybe it's not a time to invest. And so like what I've learned is, because when I invested in my business multiple times when I did not have the funds for it on paper, right, at all, I did not regret that one bit because that was my number one priority at the time. And I literally said out loud, I was like, I would rather be in this financial situation if that means like my business can thrive later. Like I know right now I need to invest in growing this business and I care about it more than anything else. I said, I will be homeless if that's what it takes. And I will still work with my coach, like because I was just so committed and I knew that was my number one priority at the time. And again, I'm not saying this to say that, oh, you're not committed enough if you're not willing to be homeless over investing in a coach. What I'm saying this to explain the contrast of where I am now is at that point in time, that was my priority. I also was, I wasn't single, but Sindri wasn't living with me. So I don't have any kids, I didn't have any family or anyone else to worry about or that I needed to take care of. It was just me. And so I was in a place where I could risk that much and I could put that much on the line, and was it stressful as hell? Yes. And in retrospect, do I think it actually would have maybe been, I don't even want to say a better journey because I just can't, because I know it was supposed to be my journey and my journey went exactly how it was meant to be. But like, would I recommend that to everyone, to be that stressed? when building your business? No, it put me in a lot of, my nervous system was really stressed a lot of the time because of financial stress. And I do, looking back, see how much that held me back in my business more than I realized. And at the same time, I know that that was exactly the journey I had to go on. I needed to be tested in those exact ways to learn the lessons I didn't to get to the point where I am now, to really deepen my trust and expand my nervous system capacity and all of those things, and to learn about money, what I did about money, and to get to the place where I could realize where I am now, which is that my priorities shifted. So I also am not investing in a coach right now because I had a realization after going through all of that, that my priority at that point in time was growing my business and investing in growing in my business. And now my priority, my number one priority, even over growing my business, is financial stability, right? I mean, there are other priorities like happiness, health, whatever. But like in terms of how those two relate, right? So when it comes to investing, I feel like you really have to ask yourself, which is more of a priority to me right now, financial stability or growing my business and investing in growing my business? Because there will be different times where different are a priority to you. And if financial stability is your top priority, if you don't already have that, I should say, but I feel like, a lot of people I do come across like who were in similar situations to me where you either leave your job with no plan or, maybe you're just not that good with money and you don't have that stability, right? Lots of different ways like you could get into that situation, but your number one priority then should be getting financially stable so that you then can invest, right? Because even if they're very close in priority, if you need that financial stability and that your nervous system can't handle to not have that stability and grow your business, like if that's going to affect you growing your business too much, it's not worth it to invest in that support, right? Because then the support is going to end up becoming just always trying to keep you at baseline because your nervous system is always freaking out because of the money pressure. And pressure is the worst thing for your business. So I feel like from the perspective I have now, I still say there will be times, there will be people in specific situations who it will be aligned for you to make an investment with money you quote unquote don't have, whether that's putting it on a credit card or pulling money from your 401k or just literally not even knowing where it's going to come from and just like saying fuck it and like having trust in the process and like watching it miraculously come through every month. I've done all three of those things. And I've had clients who have done those things too. And there will be times when that is the right thing for you to do. And there will also be times where that's not what's aligned for you and your financial stability is your priority and you can have trust in yourself that you know what you're doing. Because I think the other thing is like what I realized is when it was finally time for me to take a break from having a coach for a while, because number one, I realized financial stability was more of a priority and that was not aligned with that at the time. And number two, I was like, I actually am in a place where I do believe in my ability to navigate this right now. Not that I couldn't before, but it was kind of like, all right, again, I've kind of completed this level. Like I know where to go from here. Almost like I guess I should say I'm not in an expansion phase yet. I think I was in like an integration phase and I'm going to be moving into an expansion phase soon. But in the integration phase, I could feel I'm entering into an integration phase and like this is what's best for me. You know what I mean? And so I wasn't planning to go all into that, but I feel like it's just like important perspective for people because there is like a lot of rhetoric online about like when to invest and like kind of guilting people if like you're not investing and this and that. And I think it's just you have to be so honest with yourself and look at your situation. And again, you should never be investing because you feel like you need it or you feel like you can't do it without it, right? It should be, and it's not to say like when I invested in my business first, like 2 years ago or whatever it was, I didn't know a lot of stuff and I knew that like I needed to learn that stuff and it would be super helpful for me to have that support. And I knew there was a lot of inner work I needed to do and it would be really helpful for me to have that support to do that. I also knew like I could have done it on my own. Like I had that belief in myself and my business and my ability to be successful. I just knew it would be a lot harder and take a lot longer. And because that was such a priority to me at the time, and also I just felt the intuitive yes, So it's just like such a nuanced and really intuitive discernment or intuitive decision. And you have to use your discernment. And I don't think there should ever, and I do think we are moving out of this era, but I don't think there should ever be a pressure or like a feeling of obligation of like you're wrong for not investing because you will know. Like it is literally your intuition And whether the reason is it's just not the right time, it's just not the right coach, it's just not the right program, it's just not the right timing with your finances, it's just not a priority, whatever it is, like you will know. And again, you will know on the flip side too if it is right for you. So, yeah, that was like a whole tangent I really wasn't planning on going into. And there's like so much more to talk about. But yeah, I don't know. It felt relevant to share. Just like remember, and even like if you like too for entrepreneurs listening, like from the perspective of closing sales, right? This is not just for like people from a client perspective, but this is also remembering you get to lead your sales that way too, right? And your marketing. And you don't have to be like try to convince anyone to work with you, right? And if somebody does say, oh, they can't afford it or whatever it is, just know it could be any one of those reasons, right? And we tend to make it so personal sometimes. And it's like, there's just so many reasons, right? It's such a nuanced thing, but yeah, just like that reminder to like, I feel like that helps me to know because having now been in a situation where I was able to really intuitively discern, oh, like it's actually just not aligned for me to continue with my coach right now because I have other priorities right now and I'm in an integration phase. That has really helped me even like see it from a client standpoint of like when if somebody says that to me, to be like, oh, I totally understand because I've been there now. You know, when I feel like because the first few years of my business, I was always investing because I was in that phase, it was harder for me to understand it for them because I would be like, yeah, but like I'm making it work. Why can't you? You know? And like now I really understand. Oh, and now I've been, because sometimes it is hard to actually understand someone else's perspective or situation if you haven't experienced it, right? Like we can all try and expand our awareness and understand that people can have different perspectives that we can't see, but it's a lot easier when you've actually been there. And I did actually, because of the other reason I'm sharing this is because of all that rhetoric, I kind of had this in like story in my head of like almost guilt when I wasn't gonna reinvest with my coach because I was like, am I like wrong? Am I listening to fear? Am I not choosing expansion because I'm choosing to not invest right now? Like am I failing? I felt like I was failing. Like, oh, but I haven't made enough money to keep investing, so I must be doing something wrong. And I think that's why like I feel this is so important to share because if I was dealing with that, I'm sure other people deal with that too. Because again, of the rhetoric of like, you should be investing or you're failing or you're wrong or you're listening to fear. It's not about that. And I really had to use my discernment and realize, oh, like, no, like, I am choosing this. Like, I just want to prioritize this financial stability right now. And it isn't just, it's not a full body yes. A lot of the reason why I freaking love my coach and I can't wait to work with her again. But a lot of the reason why I was still hanging on to wanting to keep working with her was so I didn't feel like I was failing. And it was actually a lesson for me to be like, actually, I can own this choice because I trust that I can navigate this and I know that I'm not failing just because I'm choosing to prioritize this over this right now. And it doesn't mean I'm deprioritizing my business any less. It's just like where I'm at with my priorities. You know what I mean? So anyway, all that to say, one of the big reasons why I realized financial stability was such a priority for me was because I had been stretched more and more and more with the financial stress as time went on. And the crazy thing is, even though I was making more and more money in my business, my expenses were still just always more than I was making. And so this is like the big thing with finances. And it's crazy because I like was at a point where I was making like, you know, consistent almost 3K months, you know, nothing big, crazy, flashy numbers, right? But like of monthly recurring revenue. That's pretty good. That's pretty solid, right? To build my business to that point in 2 years, right? That's like more than I would make working full-time at a part-time job, right? Or at a minimum wage job, I mean, full-time at a part-time job. That's like a good amount of revenue. And if I was making that now that I have like a household with shared income, you know, that would be like feel amazing. But because my expenses, because I had the investment and because I had my credit card debt payments and all these things, and I also like just, I mean, I had cut my expenses down so many times because again, I went in layers and layers and layers of understanding truly how intimate you have to get with your finances to really achieve this financial stability and get to this point where you've really shifted your baseline, coming from a place where, again, I have to talk, this is like turning into just like a whole money story, but I feel like there's so much to say about money that I want to save for another episode. But all of what I really want to say here is I still had a lot of ego with my finances and with like still investing and like having those commitments and everything like that and not wanting to let go of certain things. And so I didn't like, even though I was making such great money, I realized that I never let myself really celebrate and recognize how much money I was making and how well I was doing in my business because my expenses were always more than my income. And so I always was still just stuck in that not enough, not enough, not enough. I was like, oh yeah, I made $3,000 this month. I made $4,000 this month, $5,000 this month. Well, 5,000 would have been enough to cover my expenses. There was like 1 month where I actually had 5,000 like cash, I think probably come in. But it was always somewhere between like 2 and 4, and I was always short, just short of, and it would always come through somehow, but I was always just short of what I need to cover my expenses. And so I didn't even realize, like, I'm like, oh my God, like this is great. Like I'm making this money because compared to what I like needed, right? It wasn't enough. And it's so funny because then basically what happened is the funniest thing. And I was like hesitant to talk about this for a while because I definitely had to process it a little bit. But all of my clients rolled off at the same time. And it was literally right after Sindri got here. So literally Sindri got here and I kind of like took like a month or two like off. I took like a month off, like I had vacation and stuff, and I was like half on, half off. And then I honestly don't even remember what I did in September. I think I was, yeah, I was still working in September because I still had clients on my roster in September, and I ran a program. And then into October, all my clients rolled off at the same time, and I realized like, and then it was kind of this shift all happened at the same time where like Sindri came, and I was in this bliss, and I was loving just like I felt like my priorities and my values were just shifting, and I was like, "Oh my God, like I feel like I have so much more of a purpose now that you're here. Like I'm not just living for myself anymore." And that was like the big one of the big shifts was I was like, I'm not just living for myself. Now it's us. Now it's about our home, our life that we're building together, like our future family, you know? And like all of those things started really coming up. And I think that's what like really shifted my priorities a lot to like now the financial stability is more important because like it's not just me, it's us, you know? And like now we're making our decisions together. And now like, you know, his income is helping support and like covering our expenses, and like it's just more of a team thing now. You know what I mean? And like it not only was it like I don't want to live that riskily anymore because it's not just me, but it was also like I I don't need to. Like, I'm ready for this kind of like shift. You know what I mean? So, Sindri coming and then like getting a job and having, he had a job. I mean, he had a job in Iceland, but the fact that he like got a job like as soon as he got here was awesome. And his income was able to cover like our basic living expenses. So, before I was like, I didn't even realize. And like, I thought I had worked through this, and I did work through it so many times because this is a lot of what I teach of like, you know, the pressure and like having that financial stress really affects the way you're able to show up in your business, because the key, as I always talk about, is showing up from desire and leading from that place, from play and joy and intuition, and no rush, no urgency, no pressure, and feeling safe in your body. And I was in a situation where, because of the, even though I was making money in my business, decent money in my business, because of the contrast of my expenses and my income and my inability at that time to really cut anything else from the expenses, I was just always under that stress. And I was like always falling into survival mode because I was like, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay for this thing? How am I going to pay for that? Where's it coming from next month? And even though I had that consistent income because of the gap, and because this is the work that I do, and that was like a lesson for me, I knew how to bring myself back from it, you know, and I would often, but the problem was like I was having to waste so much energy on constantly trying to bring myself back from it, you know, that it was just like so different from if I just had that stability, you know, and that baseline, to where you're always going to have pressure and stress and urgency come up for other reasons, right? For the worthiness and not wanting to fail and the validation, and like it's not just the money, but being in a place now where not only have I like cut my expenses to the point where they're not overwhelming in that way, but also I have Sindri's income to help support. And I know, like, okay, even if I don't close these sales or I don't sell out this launch or whatever it is, like all my basic needs are met, and like I have everything that matters. Sindri is here. Like I have like love in my family and my home, and like I don't have to worry about like literally staying in my apartment or keeping food on the table. It has allowed me to show up in my business in such an entirely, like, again, like, it's not that I didn't already do this work and know these things, but it's just, it's so much easier to access that now, you know? And so that's why it's so important too, to like always have, there's a balance of like the 5D and the 3D. It's like, yes, you can always get yourself to that place of inner safety, right? And know it'll be okay no matter what. And when your environment is like supportive of that and you have those baseline needs met more easily, it is so much easier to access that state. So that was just like such a huge shift for me. And honestly, I think when like that kind of shifted, I almost like my body was like, oh, we can like really finally rest and relax now and kind of take a step back and look at like, how do we want to move forward with the business? Because there's this like this real survival pressure is gone. Right. And it's funny. I don't know. I didn't really talk about this much about like, I've talked about my financial situation on the podcast before and like, I've been open about it, but this is probably the first time like a lot of you are hearing like that I was like in that much financial stress because like I genuinely, it's not that I was hiding it from anyone. Again, I was open about it. I remember recording a podcast episode earlier this year where I was really afraid to like reveal to people that there was like a gap in my income and my expenses and that like my financial situation wasn't super stable and like super ideal. So it's not like I was lying to anyone and like hiding the stress about money. I was open about it when I felt called to be open about it, you know? And also like this is the work literally that we talk about all the time. Like I genuinely was doing the work with my nervous system and building trust and staying in trust and staying in my body and doing the work to feel into that inner safety and to be in flow and to listen to my intuition and lead from desire, even though it was harder, you know, it was like having to do it more often. I was doing that. So I was showing up from truth still. And the most important thing is I always find like I could have so easily, like at that point in time, someone with like my financial situation on paper, you could easily be like, oh, I'm broke. I have no money. Like I can't afford anything, whatever it is, right? Like there was nothing glamorous about my financial situation. Right? I mean, it was glamorous that I was making like a decent amount of money through my business that I built up like from the ground up on my own, right? But like about what I was living day to day with like the gap in finances and the stress and not knowing where it's going to come from and all of that, right? But the reason you never felt that from me was because I genuinely never identified with that financial situation. I was always locked in on the stability, on the future situation, you know? And so because I never identified with that, right? That's why you never felt that from me. And I never, like, yes, I would have moments of stress, right? And feel the pressure. But I literally, like, I would have moments where I would be like, wow, like, I would kind of like realize the dissonance and like realize like, wow, like when you like really are, you know, being delusional and like manifesting and doing the identity work, and then you kind of stop and look at your life in the 3D and you're like, I totally could be in a completely different mindset about my life right now, but I'm not. And it's cool to notice how default it has always been for me for the longest time now to like not like I don't think I've ever identified really with like, you know, being broke or like really saying that I'm in a bad financial situation. And I did have moments where I kind of almost had to be like bring myself back down and be like, okay, wait a minute. It's almost like sometimes because I am like always so identifying with the future state and like that is reality that sometimes I have to bring myself back and be like, okay, well, like it's okay to like, you know, let yourself freak out and cry a little because this was actually a really stressful, hard situation. Like I think it's important. That's been a big lesson for me too, is like letting yourself acknowledge how hard things are. Like, yes, we want to always stay locked in on the vision and in the positive mindset and not going down and energizing like with the negative stories. And also, it's important to be able to recognize when you need to give those, you know, feelings and those stories their time and acknowledge how difficult things are. And that was something I realized like with Sindri getting here was coming back to what I was saying about like finally getting that break is I feel like my body felt like I finally had this safety and this break and this space to to feel a lot that I didn't feel over that time because it was so hard to be apart, like, and I really definitely did not let myself really fully, yeah, ever, I don't think, acknowledge how difficult that was to be apart for that long, to like, to just be living my life and trying to grow my business from scratch on my own, like living alone, taking care of my entire apartment on my own, taking care of myself on my own, and like trying and balancing with like being married to someone who is across the ocean, like trying to maintain that relationship and communication and balancing it with the time zone. Like it was so much. It was so much. And all like on like it would be so much just to be like growing my business from the ground up on my own, right? Let alone doing that alone while like taking care of myself and living alone and having that financial situation and missing my husband and like feeling the like, emotion and sadness of like him and longing of him not being here, and like having to balance that with like the time of making time for each other and with the time difference and just all of that, right? So it was a lot. And I feel like once he finally got here, I just like my body finally felt this safety and like that relief of pressure of like I'm taken care of now, and like he's here and we can relax and just like, yeah, like, so I remember all my clients rolled off, and my program, I had ran like a free 2-week program and it was ending. And whatever I was going to launch out of that program, I was like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. I'm honestly just not feeling like really launching anything. And now that I don't like feel like, and you never have to rush it, but I was like, now that I truly can know, you know, the basics are taken care of and I don't have to rush into something, I don't want to, because I would always find myself rushing into something without even realizing, without even meaning to. And I would kind of like trick myself into thinking I was excited about something, but really I was just like not wanting to not launch something else. And so I kind of was like, I just didn't even sell anything out of that 2-week program. I just kind of let it end. And I was like, I'm just going to take kind of the month off. October was going to be really busy anyway because my sister was getting married. It was Sindri's birthday. Like there was a lot of travel and a lot of family stuff. It was my brother's birthday. Like there was just a lot going on. A lot of like, I felt like October, I was like full-time errands. But I also just kind of let myself really take a step back from my business and just like let clarity come to me. And I was really, really proud of how I navigated that time too, because I did feel really confused about like, what direction do I want to go in my business? I definitely had moments where I was like, man, this feels so nice. Do I even want to go back to that? Like, I kind of like just like, being a housewife and like taking care of the home and running errands and like doing this and that and baking all day. And, but I was so proud of myself because I didn't like latch on to anyone's story and just like spiral with it, and I didn't go into shame with anything, and I just kind of like let myself flow, and I was just like, oh, interesting, there's a thought, and like I'm gonna just let the clarity come to me and not try to force the clarity, which I would always be trying to force the clarity in the past because I was in such a rush, excuse me, and I always felt that urgency. But this time I was like, I'm gonna just let it come to me. I like took a week off where I just did like fun things, and I was like kind of showing up here and there in my business. Took a week off of social media and just, playing creatively and just reflecting. And I feel like that month really helped me remember like what it feels like to feel that daily peace and not that urgency and constant, rush and pressure. And what I realized too was like, okay, like this is what I'm always teaching too, is it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. It doesn't have to be this or that. It doesn't have to be, oh, I can either live this way and just be a housewife and forget about my business and like feel peace and not feel pressure, or I can go back to my business and like feel that. Like this is reminding me again what I always talk about and what I preach of how your business is supposed to feel and can feel, right? Like this can be my baseline where I am just living life and exploring and adventuring and playing and baking and creating, right? And the way my business fits into that is I create what I feel inspired to create for my business, right? Like you should never be showing up in your business from that obligation energy. The whole reason you started your business is for you. And so it's just always good to take a step back and look at what are the parts of my business that if I could start over, like I wish I didn't have to do, right? I wish like weren't still here. Or what is it about my business or my relationship with it or my approach to it that is preventing me from feeling this way and moving through my day this way, even when I am actively in my business? And so I feel like taking that space and really letting myself not rush anything, just like really, yeah, gave me the space to allow the clarity to come through of the direction I wanted to go with my business and what I wanted to create and the kind of content and the kind of programs and the kind of presence that I want to have and what I want to put out and who I want to be in my brand, and realizing, oh, like I really want to create this kind of content and like realizing where I was boxing myself in and like the vision for the podcast, like it all came through because I had that space. And it just is a reminder too of how powerful it is to just like how important it is for your body to be in that place where you can let that inspiration flow in and to give yourself the space when you need it and to not force the clarity. Because I used to always too, if I felt confused or I didn't have inspiration for what to launch or whatever it was, I would start spiraling and shaming myself and being like, what's wrong with me? Like, what do I want to, like, do I not want to do this? Or like, but why can't I think of this? Like, why am I not clear? Like, why don't I know what to do? And this time I was just like, okay, I've been here before. Like, I'm just going to let it like come in. I'm trusting that it's going to drop in when it's meant to, and I'm not going to rush it. And it's even like I started to kind of come back into my business in November. And even like again, this month I said I feel like I've been on a quantum rocket ship because every week I like think I'm clear and then I'm confused again. And then I think I'm clear and then I'm confused again. And I think I'm clear and then I'm confused again. And it's like I am getting like bits of clarity each time and I'm getting more and more clear, but it's just like I'm letting it evolve and I'm not rushing into anything, And so it's just been really nice and I'm really proud of myself for how I've been navigating it. Of like, again, in the past, I feel like I would have been like, oh my God, like I've been so confused on this. And I'm like, okay, it's only been 3 weeks since you've really been back in it. November's not even over yet, like zoom out. And like when I feel confused again, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like dance. I'm just gonna journal. I'm gonna do a meditation. Then I get a little bit of clarity, and then I'm like, oh, I like that. Oh, I'm feeling called to create this type of content. I'm gonna just do that. I'm gonna create that, and like just really letting myself be more in the flow with it. And yeah, it's been really nice. So, okay, let me kind of like, what have I talked about? Yeah, so Sindri moving here, and that's kind of like, yeah, the like everything that has shifted with my business and everything since he's been here. And I think also just like having him here and like having him here, you know what I mean? Just like having that support, having like, your partner and your best friend and that person. And it got me thinking too, like, there's this whole narrative of like, I don't know, for women, like women, you should focus on your career and then find a husband, and like don't chase marriage because everyone tells you to, and then, neglect your own dreams. And like, yes, absolutely. I support that. Like, I don't think you should ever chase a dream because it's the dream someone else said you should chase, not your dream. But I do absolutely think that like if Sindri had been here from the start of my business, I feel like it would have been a lot easier to grow my business with that, having that support, like even not even financial support aside, the emotional support of having him here. And maybe that's just specific to me because I also had like the added distress of being in a long distance relationship. It's different from if I was just single, and focusing on it on my own. But I don't know. I do think that everything is just easier when you're not doing it on your own in general. And yeah, so I would recommend too. I've had like clients and I've seen so many people who are not in good relationships, and that really sabotages your business too. So I think it's most important just for you to be in alignment when you're growing your business, whether that means you're single and just living your life and dating yourself, whether that means you are in a healthy relationship or yeah, whatever, but like not being in an unsupportive relationship or having some kind of support system. Even if you're single, like having that support system in some way is just so important. And I think I just realized too, like, yeah, how much I was carrying on my own for so long, like so long. And you realize too, like everyone you're comparing yourself to and seeing this and that is like, I was like, dang, like they all have like a shared income household, or they all live with their partner and they're not also trying to balance a long distance relationship, or they're not this and this, you know what I mean? And everyone has their own problems, right? But like just a reminder too, when you if you tend to be really hard on yourself, or always feel like you're not enough or you're not successful enough yet or whatever it is, especially with growing a business, like just remember, like you've been through so much you're not giving yourself credit for. And that was a big thing too that I had to really navigate when Sindri moved, was really like integrating that into my system and feeling like I am worthy of this. Because there was a big part of me that was like, how is my life just suddenly getting this good? And literally everything that was stressful and problematic about my life is suddenly gone overnight and everything is perfect and blissful and amazing. Literally. Like, how do I deserve this? And that's when I really had the realization of, I was like, wait a minute, because like in my brain, I was like, wait, and all of a sudden overnight, everything's amazing. And it's like, no, girl, like you have been literally like going through this for years. Like things have been difficult in many ways for years. Like you've been growing and learning and committing yourself to this for years. You've been like going through this long distance journey for years. Like, of course you deserve it. Like, you put in your time. You know what I mean? Not that you have to like put in your time to get good things to happen to you, but you know what I mean? It's just like funny how your brain, like who's obsessed with thinking that you don't deserve good things, is like, wait, why do you deserve this goodness all of a sudden? It's like, it's not all of a sudden. It's literally been like years. Like, yeah, it's been really hard and I deserve this now, you know? Like, and that's why it's so important, if you're finding yourself feeling that way, to look back and acknowledge how hard it was. I remember talking to a client about this one time too. This is like one of the first times I really had this breakthrough, is like, if you find it hard to celebrate yourself, it's because you are not acknowledging your hardship enough and not acknowledging your challenges. You're not letting yourself feel the emotions that came with the hardship, right? And when I really let myself reflect back on the past 2 years and how difficult it was, and I let myself feel that, because I did kind of not let myself feel that fully, because I kind of had to compartmentalize a lot of the time, or I don't know if I would have been able to like get, like, I didn't have the capacity to feel that much emotion for how hard it felt at times. You know what I mean? And I really was like, now it's safe to feel it. So remember to give yourself those moments. When you finally are safe to feel it, let yourself feel it. Because when you can let yourself feel the depths of that emotion, then you can let yourself feel how big the, you know, the gratitude and the celebration and the joy and the love can feel on the other side. So that's kind of like all. I feel like I covered the most important stuff. Oh, but the other thing I wanted to talk about was, yeah, the fact that all my clients rolled off. And so I definitely had, it's funny now, I feel like so chill talking about it, because I definitely had I mean, okay, so all my clients rolled off. And so I literally went from like best place in my business I'd ever been to like next month, no clients, no revenue. And at the same time, like, Sindri's here, I'm actually in a better financial situation despite making less income, right? And so it was like this weird kind of shift. And it's funny too, because I always say, right, you have to expand your nervous system capacity, right? Or things are going to balance out. And so it is kind of funny where I'm like, yeah, of course, that makes sense, because Sindri came and like I had this influx of income, right? And like my baseline frequency has increased. But if I were to also have maintained that level of success in my business, I think that would have been too much good at once for my system to handle, right? Like, you still need to expand in a sustainable way, because it was such a, again, surreal, like, infusion of joy and love and peace and happiness and safety when Sindri came. I really don't think like my system could have handled more. It kind of needed that balance out. And that's, again, I don't want to like enforce the narrative of like, oh, you have to have trade-offs for good and bad things, but I do want to enforce the narrative of everything comes down to your nervous system capacity, right? And so you want to expand your capacity to hold more of all of it, right? What I was just saying, like, you have, in order to expand your capacity to hold more of the good stuff, you got to expand your capacity to hold, aka feel, more of the bad stuff too. And so I was like, yeah, this kind of makes sense, because like I expanded to hold this, right? But now like I have to expand again. Like, I have another level of expansion to then bring like that next level back in, you know? Like, my first level I wanted was that stability. Now we're moving into like luxury, you know what I mean? And into that next level where I have like, this is my new baseline, right? So going back to what I was saying about the levels, right? Like, now I've started the new one. Now I'm in the new level. And that's why I've been confused the past month and all that stuff, right? So like, I had my bliss period and now I've definitely entered like the next level of expansion. But yeah, like it's like you do, when you start that next level, everything is going to start to feel confusing again. You're going to feel like you're starting to get all the same lessons. You're going to start to question everything and think, you start to go through shit again. But like your baseline has still raised. You still are at the next level, right? So it's like now my baseline is just so much better than my baseline before, right? To like navigate and face these challenges that come with the next level of expansion. So, yeah, basically I'm like, where was I? My clients rolled off, and so I took October off. I was also like, I think this is just not a coincidence. All my clients rolled off at the same time. Like, clearly, this is meant to happen for a reason. Like, I'm going to take this time to really not rush into anything, like, get clear in the direction I want to go. I got a lot of clarity in the direction I want to go. You've seen me talking about it and, like, putting it into practice, into action with my business. But then when I started to get back into things in November, I did start to feel, I started to know, because I was like, wow, like, I'm awesome. Like so many people I feel like would have all their clients roll off at the same time and go from, making all this money and having all these clients and all the success to like nothing on paper and feel like a total failure. And I could easily take this as a sign that I should like, give up and like, like step away and like maybe I should, I took this month off and maybe I should just stay like this. But I didn't, because my identity is so locked in as an entrepreneur and as someone who keeps going, as someone who is capable and successful. And even though like fear of failure and feeling like a failure is like one of my biggest wounds, I still do have that like soul truth and that identity embodied of like, no, like these results don't shake me. Like this happening in the external isn't shaking me, And I really was proud of myself because that was my initial reaction was this is happening for a reason. I'm going to get more clients again when the time is right. I'm going to just like ride this wave. That was really how I responded to it. I didn't let it make it mean anything about me. Now, when I started to get back in my business in November, I did definitely notice, and it was a little subconscious at first. I did not realize this was happening, but I was definitely showing up a little less confidently. And I realized I was kind of looking at myself as like less impressive. And I wasn't really like bragging as much or celebrating as much because I was kind of having a story come up of like, well, I don't have any clients and I'm not making any revenue right now. So what do I have to show? Basically, like, why am I impressive now? And that was a really cool moment because I was like, oh, shoot. Am I still externalizing my confidence and my like, worth and validation to the external results, to the numbers, And I was like, oh, of course, that's why this happened, to show me where I was still doing that and to remind me how to insource my confidence again. Like this is what I had to do when I first started my business, was I had to teach myself and learn how to show up and insource my confidence and how to show up and believe that I am legit because I know I'm legit, and show up confidently because I am confident, not because I have numbers to point to and brag about and to prove it, right? And I just made a post about this the other day. Oh, my neck just cracked. Because I finally processed through this lesson again, right? And I was like, oh, that is why this is happening, right? Because the part of me, the ego part of me that is feeling like I can't show up confidently now because because none of my clients renewed, right? So I could easily look at it as like, oh, none of my clients renewed. And so like I failed, like I didn't get any of my clients to renew and I didn't make any new sales, right? But then I can also look at it realistically and be like, oh, like all my clients rolled off because the timing wasn't aligned for them to continue. And I completely see that, right? Oh, all of my clients rolled off because the timing wasn't aligned for me to have a lot of clients on my roster right now because I was meant to focus on this new phase, and I was meant to be able to have that space to take a step back and figure out the new direction for my brand and my business, Oh, all my clients rolled off at the same time because I kind of took a couple months off. Like when Sindri moved, I was on vacation. Like I was hanging with him. We were getting the house together. I wasn't really actually showing up and selling as actively in my business. And guess what? When you aren't showing up and selling as often in your business, you make fewer sales. Like, so there's really tangible things you could look at too. Also, a big one was, big lesson learned, I had avoided networking and visibility for so long. And I knew literally since the beginning of the year, I knew, like, if you think about basic business strategy, right? Because we do need the basic business strategy, right? You have like your funnel, right? And people come in top of funnel and then they move down the funnel, they become warm leads, hot leads, then they convert and then they work with you, right? And like, that's how you close sales. I have a whole training on this if you want to learn more about that, but you could literally Google like how a funnel works. It's pretty basic knowledge. But I knew for a while that I had built a community. I got people in my funnel, and then I was converting from the same audience, and I had kind of like the same warm leads that anytime I launched, they were who would join, right? And I kind of got to a point where I had converted everyone who was gonna convert. Like everyone who was in my community that was considering working with me had started working with me, or they had kind of fallen away, right? Like wasn't the right time. And but I had such a block to doing, like, I would always resist networking things and more visibility. Like, I knew, literally, I remember writing on, like, my goals for the new year, like, to pitch myself to podcasts. And I did not do, I haven't started doing that till literally this month, you guys. Like, I put it off forever. And so it's also, like, my own fault. Not my own fault, but, like, I feel like it helps to be able to look at things tangibly sometimes and be like, oh, this is why this happened. It's not because I suck. You know what I mean? It's not because I'm a failure. It's just because I knew that I needed more people in top of funnel. I needed to spread awareness. I needed more visibility and bring more new faces into my community. And I didn't. I just didn't, you know? I just kept launching and having like the same people sign up. And like, what do you think's gonna happen? You know what I mean? So it also was just like a kick in the booty for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna okay, fire lit under my ass. I need to prioritize this again, right? Like, or not again, like I need to prioritize it. I can't keep putting it off, right? And like, lesson learned. And so it really helped me to just be able to look at it objectively. And I was able to look at it objectively because I didn't take it personally, you know? And I was able to see, oh, this is the lesson. I'm like just remembering, I know how to do this. I know this shit. Like I did it before. I can do it again, you know? And helping me deepen in that embodied confidence that much more. And again, be able to share about this too, because there was a part of me that was definitely like, I think I'll wait to share about. I was like, you know how when stuff like this happens, and you're like, this will make a great story, you know, like this will make such a great comeback story. This is so good for the plot, right? But there was definitely a part of me that was like, I think maybe no, like I'll wait to share about the fact that all of my clients ended and like I lost all of my revenue at the same time until I have the clients back and I'm making more money again, you know? And then I was like, that would kind of defeat the purpose because the whole point is that I am able to show up confidently and show and speak, you know, proclaim that I'm still good at what I do, right? And still sell confidently, right? And still feel proud of my work and still believe in the power of my work and still show up authentically and still show up and believe that I'm impressive, right? And show up like I got something to flaunt because I do, even without the numbers, right? And let that create an awesome post to show like what really matters, right? And let that create an awesome story here that I can share to help other people who are going through the same thing, right? And the thing with vulnerability and with sharing honestly about when you're going through things like that, right? And the imposter syndrome is I could show up and share this story right now with you, and it could affect the way that you see me and the way that you look at me. And if you think that I am able to lead you and guide you and support you, or if you think that I am a good business coach or that I know what I'm doing, if you felt that in my energy, if I didn't believe it, if I was saying this and I was saying, yeah, all my clients rolled off and I'm actually not making any revenue right now, but you know, like I know it's for the best and I trust the process, but I didn't really believe it, you would feel that. And you would kind of feel like, are you trying to convince yourself as much as you're telling me? You know what I mean? But because I genuinely don't give a shit anymore, like I miss my clients, I love my clients, and like yes, I'm excited to be making more money again, but like it's not affecting, like it literally doesn't affect the way that I see myself and the way that I see the value of my work and what I'm capable of, and it's not affecting the way that I'm showing up, and it's not going to affect how confidently I sell and talk about my offers and working with me because again, I do believe in that. I'm embodied in it. You can feel it from me, and that is why the authenticity works. That is why the vulnerability works, right? Because you can feel me being honest. You can feel the truth in it, right? And some people I see who like, they hear that you should be vulnerable and they try to be like vulnerable and honest and authentic, but then they don't actually believe in what they're saying. And it just comes off kind of looking, yeah, like you could feel that they don't believe it, you know? And that's why it's so important to have embodied vulnerability. Like you need to believe what you're saying. Right. And also obviously like we're not like live processing. Like it's not like I'm coming on here like the day after I found out like none of my clients are renewing. And I was like, you guys, none of my clients renewed. Like, what am I going to do? I know it's probably for the best, right? Like there's a time and a place, like we process things first. But I think like with my whole mission now of really showing that you can show up fully vulnerable and authentic and be honest, and like you don't have to hide things like this for people to still take you seriously. I want to highlight like the important part is that I believe what I'm saying. I'm embodied in this truth, right? Because there's this big thing of like, oh, you got to show up as the expert and like show up as a leader, and you do. Like if I showed up and I was sharing this and I wasn't believing in myself, I wouldn't be embodied in my leadership and people wouldn't look at me like I had capacity to guide them. But because I do have that capacity, you can feel it. You know what I mean? And that's why like it doesn't even matter the words you say. Like this is why I just made a post about too. Like it literally doesn't matter the words you say. It doesn't matter the numbers you have to flaunt. It matters. Can people feel that you have that confidence, that you're embodying that confidence, that you have the ability to lead yourself and others, and that you have the capacity to hold it, to hold them, to create a safe space for their expansion. And because I do, and because I feel that and believe in that, you feel that too. So I hope that this has helped, I don't know, expand your perspective on lots of things. I feel like I was like very vulnerable and open in this episode, but it's interesting because I genuinely feel like I am so, because of like the way that I've let all of these situations teach me, and I've let myself expand and grow and embody more deeply through this. Like this doesn't even feel vulnerable to talk about anymore. Like a couple months ago, even I probably would have been like still a little nervous to share this stuff this openly, but I'm not. And I really think it's going to be helpful for people to hear, because this is the kind of stuff that people don't talk about, but everybody goes through it. And again, I remember I signed a client like a while ago. I don't remember when this was or the details of the situation, but I remember like it was our first week working together. And I remember, and this was like the beginning of the year or something. And this was like one of my highest ticket clients, I think, highest ticket packages, because I had just started like making like a good amount of money in my business, I think is like what I'm trying to get at. Because yeah, I really only started like making money consistently like mid 2024, right? And kind of late 2025 is when I started really getting like multiple clients on the roster and like having multiple recurring revenue, right? So like first quarter of 2025, I made more than I had made all of 2024. Closed more in sales in first quarter of 2025 than I had closed in all of 2024. So like first quarter of the year was like popping for me. So I was still kind of adjusting, and I still was like, this is new to me, right? And I remember like one of my new clients said to me, I said something to her, like, I don't know, something celebratory or congratulative, or that I saw something good in her, like compliment. And she was like, well, that means so much coming from someone as successful as you. And I remember reading that and being like, as successful as me? What do you mean? Like, I'm barely successful, like, and it was really illuminating for me, because I was like, wow, like she sees me that way and I am not seeing myself that way, right? But like I could easily look at myself that way, but I'm not, right? And that's why like your self-concept is just such a huge thing. It's just like, are you letting yourself see what's true about you? I don't remember why I brought that up, but I think because the reason I want to be real is because I know I am successful. I know I have done a ton of shit, and like I am a baddie. You know what I mean? Like, and I know a lot of people look up to me, and I know that my business looks super successful online because it is, right? And I want you to be able to see that even, yes, someone who you see online that shows up as a leader, right? That shares a lot of hot takes, that carves her own path, that leads and guides others, that listens to her intuition, that has made a ton of sales, closed a ton of sales, built her business to 50K in sales in 2 years on her own, right? Who has served hundreds of clients, who has had all these major successes. I want you to see that like I still also have things like this happen, right? It doesn't mean that like once you get to a certain point, it's just that way forever. Everything will always be ebbing and flowing. And I think there's such a common myth of like, it should always just be going up, up, up. And then if it stops going up, you did something wrong because it's not still going up, right? And like, that's how your business is going to be all the time. And I feel like I've talked about this before, but I have a masterclass called Quantum Sales Queen, and it talks about this. And I feel like it's such an underrated concept because people don't realize it's supposed to be cyclical. It's the expansion contraction cycle, right? So it's supposed to move like that. You have to have that phase of contraction so you can have that next phase of expansion. That's how you quantum leap. If you want 3D linear growth, yeah, you can always go up, 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 up. But if you want quantum growth, like, if you want to literally quantum leap and have a logical success and a logical result, you have to be willing to have it not look like you expect it to look. It's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, right? It's going to go in waves. And that's sustainable growth, right? Because if you want, you can either have, this is the way I look at it, you can have consistent, small, like logical growth, right? And always be going up. You can have, and even then you're probably still going to have dips. You can have consistent quantum growth where you're having like illogical success, right? Growing your business to 50K or 100K in 2 years, right? With no experience, starting from the absolute ground up, right? Most people would be like, oh, absolutely not, right? You can have that, but you got to be prepared for the contraction expansion cycle and that there's going to be periods where you go down. All of my highest sales months have come directly after my lowest sales months. Okay? Or you could have consistent quantum growth and just like blow up exponentially, and then you're going to crash out because it's not sustainable. Right? So I'd like the middle one. That's the one I like to do. I choose that. I remember I had a client too who, you know, when we started working together, her sales started blowing up. She was getting like 10K months and having, you know, all the success. And then that was like a period of expansion for her. And then she started going into a phase of contraction, and she was starting to get in her head and kind of spiral because she was like, oh my God, like my sales numbers are pretty low this month. And like, it's gonna be my first month that I didn't beat my last month's sales numbers. And I talked to her about this concept and how, you know, accepting it being lower, accepting the dip and just being open to learning the lessons from the dip is what allows you to shift into the next phase. And instead of going into the shame spiral and getting stuck there, which is what happens to a lot of us, is what I talk about in the masterclass. DM me if you want the masterclass. I think it's still linked in my bio too on Instagram. And she was like, that was so helpful. And then she's like, you're right. And like, I walked her through an exercise and we came to acceptance, you know, for this is how I want to grow my business sustainably. And I'm okay with the numbers being lower. And literally the next day she closed like a huge sale. I think it was like 3K or 7K. I can't remember. And she was like, oh my God, as soon as, I think maybe it was a 3K sale and it made her monthly sales 7K or something like that. She was like, as soon as I accepted the numbers being low, they went up. Incredible. And I was like, yes, that is how it works. Like acceptance is so magical. So anyway, all that to say, I feel like I've gone all over the place. This episode is going to be so freaking long. Oh my God. Sorry, this is so long. But I feel like it's valuable, and I hope that you're getting something from it. I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, I was just saying that, yeah, even though, like, I think that I always thought, oh, I'm gonna, like, become successful, and then I'll just, like, stay that successful, and I'll just get more and more successful. And, like, yes, I mean, success is such a subjective definition, but it's, like, just because, like, you get a bunch of clients, I think a lot of people think, like, oh, once I get a bunch of clients, and then once I'm making this much money, you know, then, like, XYZ, then I'll feel confident and legit, or then people, whatever, you know? And it's like, yes, you can have that, but if you haven't done that work internally and you haven't embodied that within to be able to feel confident and show up that way, show up confidently or show up fully, or to, you know, lead with your intuition, or to let yourself be a thought leader and like talk about things that no one else is talking about, whatever it is, if you're not letting yourself show up that way now and you're not believing in that now, then once you get the clients and the money, you're just going to be afraid of losing it. You're going to feel even more pressure because you're going to be worried about it going away. And then there may be a time when it does go away, right? When like everyone does roll off at once or something happens and you are going to be tested, and you have to still be able to show up that way even when that happens, because you can't let the external dictate how you feel about yourself or how you're showing up, because you're never actually craving the results. I swear this episode is like I have like 7 notes in my phone right now that I'm planning to turn into content, and this episode is just like all of them. All the concepts just flowing out of me. You are not actually craving the results. You're not craving the clients or the money or whatever it is, right? You are craving the way that you will show up once you get those things, or the way you think you will show up, the way you will give yourself permission to show up once you get those things, right? But it's actually not going to change. Your internal state will not change once you have those things. It will only be amplified. So if you're feeling pressure and feeling insecure now, when you have more clients and more money, you're going to feel even more insecure and question and worry if they're going to leave, or you're going to feel pressure to get them results, or pressure to not lose it, or pressure to keep making more, right? And so that's why it's so important, if you want to build a sustainable business, and a business that's built on joy and peace and freedom and happiness and fulfillment and desire and play and fun and passion, you need to embody that within. It all starts within. You can't let the external dictate. It starts with how you're showing up and how you're expressing yourself. Because also, right, you're not actually craving the results. Like I said, you're craving the way you will give your permission. You're not actually craving the results. You are craving the way you will give yourself permission to show up when you get the results, or the way you think you will give yourself permission to show up when you have the results. Give yourself permission to do that now. That's not only how you get the results, but that's how you feel the way you want to feel and actually have the experience you want to have. That's what you actually want. So it all starts with that embodiment, baby. Yeah, man, we went everywhere. Is that everything I wanted to say? Yes, I feel like I've sufficiently talked about, I don't know, the whole journey. I'm sure there's so much I forgot to say, but we're back here every week, so we got time to catch up. Yeah, the card pull. Okay, if you stuck around for the whole episode, we got a card pull for you guys. I feel like this was mostly like just a business update, but also life. I feel like a big lesson has been like, your business doesn't have to be your life, but also you can design your business in a way that it is just an extension of a life that you love living. You know what I mean? That's my wish for you, and that's what I will always coach on. That is the kind of business I will always help my clients create. I feel really proud of myself. I mean, yesterday, you guys, I was like doing a little meditation, and I was like, oh, I'm noticing that I'm not really feeling seen. Like I was like, I wish that, like, I know what was coming up like in my mind was like, sorry, I'm just flipping out the cards because they're like all out of order. What was coming up in my mind was like, I wish that other people would be like celebrating me and like acknowledging me more. And I was like, okay, interesting. So clearly like I'm not seeing myself, like I'm not doing this for myself right now, right? And so like I journaled on, what do I not feel acknowledged for? Like what do I like not feel seen for right now? And it was like everything that I was, like I was like, I feel like I'm not being acknowledged for like how hard I've been working, and like I just put out this whole podcast, and like it's not being celebrated enough, and I'm not like being seen for how creative and innovative I've been and how courageous I've been lately, and like all this stuff. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, like I'm not seeing myself for any of that stuff, right? Because I'm still like, there was still a part of me that was kind of like, oh, but like you got to get the clients again, you got to make money again, you know what I mean? Like there's part of me that was still pedestaling the results. And I was like, oh, like I am not recognizing and celebrating everywhere I am right now and everything I'm doing and the way that I'm showing up, because I'm still kind of putting that down and there's a part of me telling myself, nope, you're still not good enough until you have the external results, right? And that was such a big shift for me. And what I actually did was I sent myself a voice note, like as if I was just messaging a friend, and I like acknowledged myself for all those things, and like really was like went on like a celebration for myself, and it was so powerful. Highly recommend doing that for yourself. It was really, really helpful. So anyway, and now we're here. Feel great. Okay, are these the cards? Let's see. Okay, these are totally the cards. They were ready to come. So we have get back to elemental, follow through, and limitations inspire innovations. So limitations inspire innovations is so funny because I feel like that's literally what I was just talking about. Like you could perceive all of my clients rolling off and like my revenue going down to 0 for the month, which technically November is not over. So this is, again, like you got to zoom out and realize like I still was making revenue up and through October because I had clients on payment plans. So November's not over. So I could still close sales before the month is over, and then it actually hasn't dropped. But I also knew if I didn't get to the place where I could own it and say, like I just told with that story from the client, if I don't actually get any clients this month and I don't have any revenue this month, like I'm okay with that. Because there was a part of my ego that was like, I have not had a $0 month since I started making money in my business, like back like in summer 2024, that did not want to let go of that. But now I genuinely feel like if it's 0, I don't care. It's going to go up. It's going to go back up again. I'm making the moves. I'm doing the things, and I'm just going to keep flowing and going the course and following through. The other card, following through. And like, watch me now close an awesome sale tomorrow. But limitations inspire innovations, right? So like the limitations of like, oh, like it seems like things are going bad or I have less to work with, actually inspire innovations. And that allowed me to take the step back and come up with all of this like new vision for the way I want to run my business, you know? Even like limitation with this setup inspired me to get really innovative with my photo shoot, right? Like all of that, like limitations inspire innovation because it's really easy. I think this is another thing, like it's really easy to just kind of pin the ease on like money or on more this, more that, more resources, right? I'm like, oh, well, once, if I just had a bunch of money, I could just do everything easily and like just, this and this and that, right? And I wouldn't have to think about it. And it's almost like, oh, it'd be so easy because I wouldn't have to think about it because I could just do this and just do that, right? If I just had more time, then I could just like do everything easily. But like the innovation actually comes from that resistance and that discomfort of having to think about it and having to work with what you have and figuring out how to get resourceful. Sindri and I have been needing to soak these white clothes for weeks, and we keep not soaking them because, like, we got this OxyClean we wanted to soak them in. We don't have anywhere to soak them because we don't have, like, a giant bin or anything or, like, a laundry room. Well, I guess there is maybe a sink in the laundry room downstairs, but it's, like, dirty. I don't know. We just, like, didn't really know what to do, and then I was like, wait, what if we just, like, put them in the sink? And it's like, we did. They're soaking right now in the sink. And it's that kind of thing where it's like, you get innovative and that's how you come up with new things, new ways, right? Limitations on social media right now. I have like a whole other spiel ready to go about this that will be coming. Like social media, there's limitation in, like the landscape of creativity right now and like the kind of content and, feeling you got to make a certain kind of content to XYZ to get certain results. That creates innovation because it's like, okay, I feel limited by this content. I don't want to just be trapped into this kind of content anymore. So how can I be innovative, right? And make a new kind of content that could still lead to results. You know what I mean? So I think the message here is like, so a lot of time we let the limitation get us down and we think, oh, if I just had more, it would be easier. But how can you actually look at that limitation as a gift and an opportunity for you to be innovative and creative and actually create something new through that discomfort or through that difficulty even. Follow through. I feel like this is just, again, perfect theme for the episode. Like you got to just keep following through. It's not once you just hit that thing or get that milestone that things are suddenly going to be easy or that you're going to suddenly feel confident and suddenly feel like success is inevitable. I feel like I always thought, oh, well, like once I have, my roster full or once I'm making this much money a month, then I'll feel like it's easier to do. And that's not true. Like it just comes from within and you got to have that follow through. Even when you do get the results, like you can't kind of like then coast. You got to keep following through and keep showing up. Right. And when you don't get the results, when the results dip or when things are going wrong, you got to keep following through and you got to keep showing up. Right? You got to keep going when the going gets tough. And follow through is like one of the most important qualities in entrepreneurship. It's that long haul energy. It's like a term that my coach Nora coined, right? Is like, that's what you got to have. You got to be in it for the long haul, especially with something like this. This is challenging work and it's a challenging journey. And so follow through on what you say you're going to do. Follow through what you tell yourself you're going to do, what you promise yourself, right? Build that self-trust. I feel like it's just a message of like following through and not giving up. And get back to elemental. This card, I feel like it can have a few different interpretations, but what I'm getting for it right now is two things. Number one is like getting back to elemental. It's like a getting back to basics. It can mean getting back to elemental, like literally connect with earth, connect with nature. If that resonates with you, like maybe go ground or go spend some time in nature, go on a hike if you've been confused. I get so much clarity on hikes. Like connecting with the elements in that way, maybe doing some breath work, like getting back into your body, like getting back to the elements, but also like a get back to basics. It's funny because I feel like that's like what I'm doing right now in my business too, is I'm like, okay, like I'm a little bit, I have to look at this with a beginner's mindset again, right? I'm not a beginner, but I have to look at this with my beginner's mindset of like, okay, like I'm going to send a bunch of messages to people. I'm going to invite a bunch of people to calls. Like I am going to, keep showing up. I'm going to really commit to this, this, and this. And, being kind of like gritty about it, being kind of like being committed and not, because I think there was a part of me too, which is why this is just like, I still receive the lessons that always thought, oh, once I get to that point where I have the consistent revenue and I have the consistent clients, then it'll be easy. And because I have that, people will just come to me. And almost like then I can just coast and like then it'll just be easeful and I don't have to like work anymore, as hard at it. And like you still don't have to overwork, like, you don't have to over effort, but you still obviously have to put in the work and it will still feel easeful and flowy, but you're never gonna not have to remember the basics, right? The basics too of like how to like get clarity when you're confused, right? That's always gonna happen. The basics of listening to your intuition, right? The basics of acceptance, the basics of finding the lessons and integrating them, the basics of business, right? The basics of like the funnel, not ignoring the funnel, the basics of not denying your self-expression. And one thing I will say too on that is like with the funnel, it's not to say like that, like I don't want to put too much, I don't like to put too much on the 3D, you guys. It's not to say that your clients have to always come through a funnel. Your clients can come from anywhere and they can come miraculously. The reason why it was important for me to not neglect the funnel is because I could feel I was being called to network more and to be more visible and to pitch myself more. And I wasn't doing it. So if I hadn't been actively denying that like intuitive nudge from myself and that wasn't something that was required for me to be living in my fullest expression, then maybe I would have had clients come in from somewhere else. It was more about the fact that I was denying that. And I came up with a new phrase yesterday, which I can't believe I haven't said it before. Self-expression is your strategy. Literally, you living as the most fully expressed version of yourself is what will magnetize anything to you. Clients, money, love, whatever it is, opportunity. It is you living as a fully expressed version of yourself. So the only question you ever has to ask is, where am I denying my self-expression? Where am I holding back? Where am I playing small? Where am I denying a truth? Where am I not honoring a nudge and not listening to my intuition? Where am I avoiding a conversation? Where am I avoiding taking an action that I know I'm feeling called to take? That's as basic as it gets. As long as you do that and you're living in your fullest expression, magic will miraculously flow to you. And you will not know the how and you don't have to know the how, but you do have to be honoring that fully. That's the number one. That's why all my work is focused around self-expression, because that's when you're in flow. I have a video about this on my page too. I say the only problem you ever have in your business is a lack of flow, because the key to manifestation is that your energy is flowing, right? And so when you feel stuck, it's because it's not flowing somewhere, which is because something needs to be expressed, whether that's an emotion being felt and expressed, a truth being felt and expressed, whatever it is. It's all about expression, keeping the energy moving, keeping yourself in flow. When everyone talks about being in a flow state, that's what it is. It's that energy in motion because you're expressing yourself. And embodiment is expression. So it all goes together. Anyway, those are your cards. So a reminder to get back to basics, whatever that means for you, to rethink the way you're looking at your limitations and how could they actually inspire innovation in a new creative way of thinking or being. And follow through. Reminder to follow through. This also feels like if I feel like you might be really close to something, or you felt like something is like really close or like coming really soon, or you're right on the edge, or right on the cusp of something, or something's about to come through, something you've been trying to manifest and you feel like it's coming, but maybe you're like falling into that doubt, or things aren't looking in the external, in the 3D, like you would expect them to be looking to confirm that this is happening. Follow through. Don't give up, whether that's like you're in the middle of a launch or I don't know, like whatever is happening in your life. If, finances are bad, keep showing up and doing the things. Get back to doing the basic things that you know work and follow through on that. Because if you keep showing up fully expressed and listening to your intuition and you follow through and you stay consistent, this is also the post I made the other day. I talked about confidence, consistency, and capacity, which is like literally everything we talked about this episode. You cannot fail. Your success is inevitable, as long as you just keep showing up that way. So what an empowering note to end on. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening, for being here, especially for sticking with me through this long episode, especially the chaotic beginning. Yeah, I think that's all I have. So how long is this? It's almost 2 hours. Maybe we might have to cut it up. We'll see. Okay. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day or night wherever you are. And I will talk to you next week. Mwah. Bye.